today. It's been a long day for us all. So this is from the 13th of December, and we've got, I think, 3 or 4, and we'll get through them as quickly as we can. First one up was one where the council introduced a new wayfinding program to get the additional village gateway projects progressed, and it was from Councillor Dennison around the lighting installations at 200,000 being estimated at 50,000 per site, and B was around plaque installations at 24,000 being estimated at 6,000 per site. Before I go to you, Councillor Johnson, you had your hand up.
I did, sorry Mr Mayor. I was just going to ask for a programme number, but then I realised it's a new programme, so that's why there's no number.
Yeah, cool. Okay, Councillor Dennison.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is a bit of an overhang from when we installed those sculptures at our 4 entranceways that are in that cultural design. There's one in Longburn, there's one in Bunnythorpe, one in Ashurst, and one as you come into town from Linton. And there was ability for lighting to be installed, but the budget at the time was exhausted just on the installation. And then there was other comments made around should having some signage or plaques at least around the interpretation of the design, or even saying welcome to, or kia ora, welcome to Palmerston North. And so I had a placeholder budget in it a couple of years ago in last term, but it was deemed not enough money to activate the program, and it kind of got left to sit. And then it's dropped off the long-term plan. And what I'm wanting to do is actually put some financial provision in somewhere in the long-term plan that we actually finish that project so we can get the benefit of that installation both day and night. As a comparison, the Te Waka Kotahi Bridge, once we put the lighting on it, it just gives it a little bit of a wow factor. At the moment, when you're driving into those cities, driving past those sculptures, you just see pitch black. And so I'm thinking we can do something quite appealing there, and that's the officer's recommendation with estimates budgets accordingly. So I'm moving that we put that wayfinding budget as a new budget, and with A and B being supported to complete that. Thank you.
I'll go to the seconder next, Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's actually questions, if I might briefly, if officers could remind us a bit about the program. I quite honestly seconded it just because I wanted to understand where it might be at, and I don't have a whole lot of information about it. I'm wondering if officers can shed some light, as it were, on it.
I'll give it a bit of a crack. It's a bit before my time, but I did go and have a look. I had a couple of them a couple of months back just to sort of have a look at it, and I think Councillor Dennis's description of that's where they got to was correct. So I know there's some ducting that's in the concrete, but that's as sort of far as they got. And yeah, I believe it was just that was the piece that was left off the original project. But yeah, look, I don't have a lot more detail than that. Do you have anything else, Bryce?
No, I concur. That's accurate.
Oh, that's great.
So I think that feels about right. Yeah.
Thank you. And also wondering if there's any update around where we're at on the ratio of debt to revenue on the cap.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll just have to double check on that for you. I'm not actually not up to date on that just at the moment. I'll phone a friend and get back to you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Can I just ask Tua a question before I comment? Did you say there is power to the sites?
I'm not sure about power, but I think there was, I remember seeing some ducting, which maybe, I don't know if there's actual power. I'd have to go and check.
Yeah, Bryce Hosking, this will be acting group manager of transport. Yeah, not sure. We'll have to go investigate. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I'll just give some comments and then go to others. Look, while I have some sympathy, and I'm a big person on reputation, and I think we do lack a little bit here. if you can remember this project, there was meant to be plaques, there was meant to be welcomes, there was meant to be, it somewhat got changed as the project went along, and unfortunately it hasn't been finished. When we're going out with 15% plus rate increases, I do think this is more of a nice to have. In saying that, though, I do have some sympathy with the mover. I do wonder if this could be a service club. And when you go into a lot of other cities, you'll see the Lions, the Rotary, and some of the other badges that sit below, and they have become community projects, welcome to our town, our city, etc. And also our energy trust, if there is power to those sites. If there's not power to those sites, it'll be rather expensive, and it'll be a lot more than what we're looking at the moment. In saying that, I do think it is a worthwhile project that somebody could pick up. But while we were at where we're sitting, and this will be another 0.25% onto the rates, I won't be supporting it at this stage. Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm not supporting this. I have two reasons written down. One is toilet approach. This is the reference to the approach I took to the toilet decision in the last meeting, which is that this might very well be a programme that has community support, but the place for that to be tested is through long-term plans, so to come back in at that point. And then river approach is my other one, where my preference is that we focus on doing the things we're already doing, and that's already being squeezed without bringing in things that are new, or in this case, new-ish. So not supporting that at this stage. Thank you.
Councillor Naylor.
Oh, actually, same as her. Yeah.
Just briefly with the right of reply, this did go through councillor help, and we got the response back on the 31st of October to all of us. And I can accept the pressure on the budgets that this isn't necessarily the most highest flag, but what I'd love to have is that it's in the plan somewhere noted that it's been considered but not funded, and then potentially we could place it out in some outer years just so it doesn't get lost with sight again. But I could be acceptable either way on the outcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, we will vote on AA. And it has failed. 2 votes for, 13 against. Okay, we will now go to, I'm pretty sure it's BB. Okay, now, this is somewhat problematic having them all together. Councillor Johnson.
I was just going to say, I wonder if we could just do them one at a time. I know it's a little bit tiresome, but
Yeah,
I haven't got appetite for taking them as a bunch.
Yeah, neither am I. Okay, so is the mover okay with that? We do them, the mover and the seconder, we're just going to do them individually, we're going to get through them quickly. Can I just say, because of this, I might be 3 for, 3 against, and we just get through it. So, back to you, Councillor Naylor, we're doing the first one.
Yeah, I'm really just happy to introduce them all because I think we covered this last week. These, just as a recap, are Category 3 items that had been identified in Schedule 9 or 4, which, depending on which week we're looking at the agenda from. So they're the optional ones, and they're the lowest priority in terms of the officers' categories that they provided us. There was, if you recall at the beginning of the day, we did try and look at putting through as block all of the Category 3, or most of the Category 3 items, and there wasn't an appetite to do that at the beginning of the day. This was a bit of a mop-up at the end of the day to say, let's actually consider some of them are quite small, and I'm hoping we can move through them quite quickly. I was open to whether they were separate or together, but I think we're still waiting for an update. I think we may have reduced by about 55 million last week, and I don't feel that that's enough for us to have a comfortable budget to consult on. I think we need to make a little bit more progress. The total of this, all of these programs would be 6.4 million from the capital program.
All right, thank you, councillor. So we'll vote on number 1 first, which is 2501, and that is the heritage markers, and it's for Cuba Street area, interpretive heritage markers. It's for $40,000. Does anybody want to speak to that one? They do. Councillor Bowen.
Oh, man. This is tiny. How public are we? You will all know the many conversations in this room we've had about the heritage storytelling or lack thereof in the Cuba Street upgrade. It didn't make it into the project. We made commitments with our community over the last 3 years, I'm going to say, to do this storytelling. We know that our heritage budgets are under pressure, and in the operational discussion for later this week, we'll talk about how much of that is not funded. This is something that we could tick off. It's small in the scheme of things. It matters a great deal, particularly to our military heritage community in the storytelling around Cuba Street down to Arena, Māori Battalion Hall. I know we've got to cut, but can we please not cut this? Because I don't think I can bear to front the community on it again. So I ask for your support for this one.
I'm going to back you up, councillor. I'm just going to say, what heritage budgets? We don't have any, or very little. But no, look, I mean, it is small in the scheme of things, and I can appreciate we're under pressure and we're trying to. But yeah, for all those same reasons you just said, from one of the New Zealand's first RSAs to Cuba Street's one of our oldest streets, and the heritage that's there. Unfortunately, we don't do that story at all. This won't be enough for it, and we'll probably have to find some external money, and I'm pretty sure we get it if the city puts up a little bit. So as much as I want to see some cuts, I'm not going to cut this particular one. So I'd ask that you may have a think about this one. Okay. No right to reply. We'll just put this one up. So that's 2501 heritage markers. And that has failed. 4 votes for and 11 against. Okay, we will go back to the next one, which I think is events trailer, and it's program 2431 around the events trailer of 40,000, and we'll go to Councillor Johnson.
I just wanted to ask a question. If we've got an officer here who could speak to this, just explain what that money's for. I mean, I know it says community events trailer, but is there not one at the moment? What's the story? That'd be helpful.
Just getting one of the officers down to speak to it.
Kia ora koutou, Steph Alvin, Community Development Manager. So we have put this up because we don't currently have a trailer that's fit for purpose. We have a lot of equipment and we have a lot of community events, but we don't have the fit for purpose trailer to transport that around to our events. So it's really about some efficiencies for officers to be able to access that gear and get it out into the community, but also for the community to have better access to the gear that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Just while you're there, Steph, so what do you currently do?
We have a number of vans, so each time there is an event, our staff go down and load up all the vans.
Load up the van
and
instead.
then unload them, and then, so it goes into the basement storage area. And then if community want to access that equipment, then they have to bring their own trailer or vehicle as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll go to you, Councillor Johnson.
I suppose I'm standing up. I'm not going to support this. No surprise to any of you, I'm sure. But What I have noticed is that there is an increasing support of community events in terms of providing equipment. And we all know, I mean, Deputy Mayor and I were out at Farnham Park. Some of the council popcorn machine was out there. Other reserve playground openings we've been to. There's been, you know, a pop-up barbecue or whatever. There's a huge amount of work going on by our staff to prepare for these events, set up, serve the community, and then pack down. And I think it would be an efficiency to be able to have everything on the one trailer. So I'd ask you to support this. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to vote on 2431, the events trailer 40,000. And that has failed, 4 votes for and 11 against. All right, the next one is 1373, and that is around recycling drop-off. It's for 2,413,000. I'm just trying to, oh, here it is. It's under resource recovery, and it's around urban growth, recycling, citywide drop-off facilities, development, years 5 and years 6 of quite similar equal amounts. Okay, Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of questions to start off with. Wondering if we do have any information on the debt cap yet?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. In year 10 at the moment, the amount of available room is 68 million. There are some years that we might just have to look at where we go slightly over the 250% cap. But once we pull all the detail together, we'll be able to provide some suggestions if there's something that just needs to move from one year to the next.
So 68
is available for year 10.
Great, thank you. Could I understand then around this specific proposal what the implications would be in terms of both enabling city growth and resource recovery if this were not to go ahead?
Bryce Hosking, Group Manager of Property and Resource Recovery. So we're not required to do this through any kind of legislation or anything like that from a growth perspective. It is an item that has been in the last 2 LTPs, however, has always sort of been sitting in the outer years of an LTP. Essentially, it's responding to the growth towards Ashurst and actually looking to do a similar facility to, say, our Ferguson Street one, and then potentially looking at our current Ashurst operation, and yeah, could be some efficiencies between the two.
Thank you. I'll comment briefly to say that I won't be supporting this and would urge others not to support this. Firstly, we've heard that there is actually some headroom, and while I don't think we should be scrambling to fill it up, I also don't think we should be cutting things that are actually going to fundamentally help us increase resource recovery and diversion from landfill, which is very clear direction from the community that they desire us to be able to provide that. Again, this sits in the out years. This isn't getting built tomorrow. I think it's been useful to have it sitting there as a placeholder that when we get to the threshold of sufficient development happening in that part of the city, we can actually go ahead and make that investment. So it's not within the first 3 years, but let's keep it in, you know, the year 4 to 10 kind of window so that it's available to us. We need to make sure that when we're funding growth, we're funding everything. Thank you.
All right. We'll put this up. So this is 1373 around the recycling drop-off of 2.4 million. We'll vote. Change it. You can change it. And that has failed 6 votes for and 7 against. All right, we'll move to the next one. Which is Tip Road. And that is just a resource recovery section. This is program 2337. It's for 125,000. It's around Tip Road development. It's in year 3. Anybody wish to speak to this? Councillor Isabella.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question from the program description that this program works to bring Tip Road up to a vestibule standard. I just wondered, could I get a little more context about that?
Yep, probably me again. In my combined resource recovery and transport hat in this case. So essentially, Tip Road is actually a private road, and it is substandard. It has no drainage, no curb and channel and the likes, and currently at the moment it will never attract any Waka Kotahi funding or anything like that because it's not an actual urbanised road. So this work would actually lift it to that standard, and then it could be vested to council, ironically from ourselves. So then basically it could be maintained as a road moving forward.
And that would make us eligible for applying for co-funding.
Correct.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right. So we've got Tip Road for 125,000. Sound like an auctioneer at the moment, don't I? Program 2337, going once, going twice, sold. Right. We will vote on that. And that has failed with 7 votes all. Didn't get a majority. Okay, we continue. And the next one is lead lighting, and this is program 1451 for 548,000. Oh, LED lighting, sorry. And that's under economic development. It's around property, it's increasing the level of service. And I'll go to you, Councillor Naylor.
I did actually just want to have a quick question to the officers. Could this be funded through the Low Carbon Fund? Would it be qualify?
Potentially it could. It has been a standalone program for the last 2 LTPs at the same level as it is currently, and we've just been progressively working through LEDs throughout our facilities, and it's just really continuing with that.
Okay. Oh, well, I guess my comment is I think something like this, it's quite small, it's only 50,000 a year, but given that we didn't utilise the full Low Carbon Fund previously, I think it makes sense to look at ones like this and incorporating that within that fund.
Okay. All right. So this is program 1451 for 548,000, the LED lighting. We will vote on this one, please. And that has passed 12 votes for and 2 against. Right, we'll move through to the next one, which is program 2363, the conference and function centre new upgrades. And this is for 215,000, and It's around it's got here generating revenue. So is there any people want to comment on this one? Councillor Johnson.
I'm going to support this staying in because I know the Conference and Function Centre did have some recent upgrades, but these are in year 4 and year 5. And I think by then they'll be very well needed. So it just seems like a bit of penny punching, honestly, here. So I'm not supporting this one.
Councillor Wood.
Just to say briefly, as a package, this is 6.4 million, so it takes pennies to make up dollars, to make up thousands, to make up millions. So at the end of the day, we have to. It's about the cumulative total here. So I reject the idea that this is just penny pinching.
All right. Does anybody else want to comment? We will vote on this, please. And that has failed for lack of majority, 7 all. We now move through to stormwater, and this is program 1706. This is for 672. And it's around network resilience. And I'll go to you, Councillor Naylor.
I just want to make a general comment, given that 2 items have failed through a lack of majority. I think this demonstrates a concern that I've had for a long time and have voiced before, have emailed the Chief Executive within the last couple of weeks, or the last few weeks, and said, if we presume that everything is in, and we have to take it out, if it goes to a close vote, it stays in without a clear mandate from this council. And I just wanted to make that point now, as the assumption is that all of these optional programs are in, unless we have to literally take them out one by one in this tedious way. When it goes to a vote and it fails through a lack of majority, these items do not have a clear council mandate to be in there.
Councillor Johnson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Well, I don't agree with the comments that have just been made. These are all programmes that were consulted on in the last 10-year plan and were put in years 4 to 10. So they've had a council mandate, they've had a community mandate, and that has been endorsed. What the council is trying to do is take them out, and that should require a majority. New programmes do require a majority to be put in. So I just disagree with the comment that's just been made. In terms of, are we on stormwater now?
Yes.
Yeah. In terms of the stormwater, I just think of all of the things where we could be saving, stormwater is one of the ones where we shouldn't be trying to cut, and so I won't be supporting it. And I have supported some of the other proposed cuts, but this one I don't think is sensible. And the other comment that was made that I disagree with is these are not optional programmes. Nowhere does it say that they're optional. They're only optional in the sense that any programme's optional. They're no more optional than any other programme. They're a strategic programme that contributes to council's strategic direction. So I reject the description of them as being optional. They're not.
Councillors, I too, I don't know about you, but I get worried sometimes when it rains. So stormwater's always, and I'm always texting Wade or ringing him to make sure we've got everything under control. So I'm pretty nervous about chopping stormwater because if something happens, it wouldn't be. Knowing the fact that we had an opportunity to do something extra, and especially around network resilience, we've actually made some pretty good progress in recent years, and I just think this is one, and I have too supported some of these and taking them out, and I may support some more in the future. But stormwater is one which I do think we should be a bit careful about. It is playing a game of poker, and I just don't think we should be playing poker in stormwater. Councillor Barrett.
Thank you. Just briefly on the stormwater side of this, and we'll note that 1706 and 1707 are linked. They're both actually to do with stormwater, and I certainly concur with the mayor's comments and others around not wanting to try to save a buck here in a way that could really come back with a sting in the tail. I also wanted to comment a little bit on matters general, given that we're putting views out on the table now in terms of how we should or shouldn't approach this. And I would remind elected members that this is actually the second time that these have been on the chopping block. There was actually a comprehensive attempt to remove every single item of Category 3. Now we're going back through it line by line. So, you know, we need to think about actually, you know, making good use of our time here. And I won't necessarily argue that this is a bad use of our time, but I am experiencing a level of frustration that we are now looking at these items for yet a second time to merely get to a draft so that we can get some community feedback.
Councillor Isabella.
Ngā mihi, Mr Mayor, it would be remiss of me not to talk about stormwater, I think. Just wanted to note that this program particularly pertains to, it's been specifically created to look into what's required for emergency preparedness and for readiness for network resilience in case there are breakdowns within the pump stations, mobile generators, standby portable pumps to relieve temporary flood relief. I think that if this is something that was on the chopping board and then we did experience an unfortunate event such as we have seen elsewhere in the country and we said, oh, well, we weren't ready for it, I think we would rightly raise the anger of our community. I think this particular one covers our backs, but it also covers the astronomical costs that we will face if we do have an emergency and we haven't prepared for it. So I'm really happy to support this one in particular, staying in the draft for our community to give feedback on. Thank you.
Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Well, we tried to do this as a block and council said they wanted to do it line by line, so we're doing it line by line. I'm not sure what other process we could go through than what we're doing here, unless we moved it all as a block and then voted on them independently at the end, but then that means that the comments and the conversation we've just been having can't take place. So I appreciate that it's tedious, but that this is the first time these items have been up individually identified in a line-by-line manner. So it's the way we discuss it. Councillors, not only is this not under the critical category, where we have $21 million for citywide stormwater network improvements, $15 million for stormwater flood mitigation, $2.5 million for stormwater pump station improvement, and $500,000 for new pipes to redirect stormwater flows. Not only has this not been classified as critical by officers, it's been put in the strategic section, and then not only has it been put in strategic, it has been put as the lowest priority in the strategic section. So given we made a number of reductions to critical water infrastructure, and I appreciate that that wasn't stormwater, but critical water funds, then I'm not seeing where the passion suddenly come from for people to keep 670,000 in the lowest priority strategic section of this, where that passion wasn't for other water infrastructure in more critical areas. So, I mean, yes, I'm sure it's a good program. LED lighting is a good program. I mean, lots of things that we've cut are good programs, but this has been identified by officers as 600,000 out of a $38 million stormwater upgrade budget. We're not talking about, you know, making it so that when it rains the whole city's going to flood. We're talking about the lowest priority upgrades that unfortunately in a tough and fiscal environment need to be reduced. So I'm not suggesting that we damn the city to flooding. I'm still suggesting we spend 40 million in stormwater, but that this particular program, which has been identified by officers, we can afford to miss.
Okay, right, a reply back to you, Councillor Nutter.
I don't need a right reply, but I was just going to suggest, based on Councillor Barrett's comment, that the next one is probably a part of the same thing, that we take the two together.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so we're now just going to vote on program 1706 around stormwater network, and then the land purchase to enable that to happen 1707, and that's for 672,868,000. We'll take the two together, please. It's failed for a majority at 7-all. All right. We now move through to our next one, which is around streetscape program, active and public transport 1803 citywide streetscape improvements, and that is for 1,080,000. Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, just thought I would bring to councillors' attentions that this is the programme that was used to fund the neighbourhood improvements at the Highbury shops, and I would hate to see that this programme is removed, because I think there's a whole lot of work to be done in the neighbourhoods across the city in improving the kind of public space, and so I'd ask if this could please be kept in. Thank you.
Councillor Barrett.
Thank you. Just wondered if I could ask a question of officers around the commentary on this. I've seen in some of the supporting information indicates this is for meeting levels of service. So is the implication of cutting this that we would no longer be meeting those levels of service?
Apologies, Councillor. I think it's actually an error. It would be, I'd consider that increasing level of service, not meeting.
So the papers are incorrect then?
I would consider that incorrect, yes. As Councillor Johnson rightfully pointed out, it was used most recently for the Highbury upgrade, which got a fantastic outcome, but I think technically it would be increasing a level of service, not meeting a current level of service.
And is that increasing it above standards, or is it increasing it to meet a deficit that's been there?
I would consider it upgrading assets from what they currently are at the moment, as opposed to just maintaining them through a renewal.
All right, thank you.
And it is a capital new, it's not renewals, yeah. Okay, there being none, more speakers, we will vote on this. This is 1803, streetscape for 1,080,000. And that is passed 10 votes 10 votes for and 4 against. And finally, we go to program 2353 for 470,000. This is around transport's unsubsidised seal extensions. And it's citywide. And it's for 470,000. Councillor Johnson.
It's just a question, is this the sort of thing where there's a gravel road and we're making it into tar seal?
Correct.
Okay, so affecting mostly rural roads?
Correct.
Thank you. I'll convert it into a comment. I'm not going to support it because I think that certainly those of us who've been here for a number of years have been aware that different sections of the rural community have come in from time to time to request that the gravel roads that they're struggling with be upgraded to tar seal. It's expensive. We put the programme in so that seal extensions can be done, and I think we should leave it in. Thanks.
Okay, this is for the final one, and this before C is around unsubsidised road seals extensions for 470,000. Program 233. Will vote, please. And that has passed 10 votes for and 4 against. All right. We'll now move to, I think we've just got two very small ones to go. Okay, we're going to have to extend the meeting time. We'll just extend the meeting time till 5:30. I'll look to move that, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. I'll ask you to vote, please. That's passed, 14 votes for, none against. Right, we'll just move to number C, and the information is provided on Okay, I'll go to you, Councillor Naylor.
Yeah, thanks. Just to prompt colleagues' memories, there was a program that was 55 million and it was proposed to reduce it to 20 through doing it in a more cost-effective way at perhaps a lower standard, and that failed with one vote, I think. And so I think from listening to the comments, there was a general interest in looking if there was a way to deliver that program for less than 55 million. Seemed like a lot of money to spend on that one program. So given the closeness of the vote and what I perceived as an appetite in the room to reduce it to some degree, this is just asking for information back on options for delivery at a reduced cost for that program.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. If there is no further, we will vote. It has passed, 12 votes for, 1 against. Okay. That's right, he's out of the room. Okay, we now move to the substantive. Can we please go to the substantive? Okay, and this is that in the drafting of the LTP 2024-34, Council include the capital new strategic programs listed in attachment 4, subject to the agreed motions from the Council meeting 13 December and above. I'll look to move that, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Councillor Johnson.
I think it should say attachment 9, because that was the updated attachment. Staff had moved some things back up into critical and stuff.
Yep, you've kept a good record there, Councillor. Well done. Yes, you're right. Attachment 9. Okay, and I'll go to you, Councillor Naylor.
Trying to keep it brief once again, but as it'll be no surprise to you, I can't support this. The reason being, you know, looking at our rates increase proposed for the first year at 15%, 6.7% of that is simply from servicing the debt because of the decisions that have been made in recent years and the size of our debt and the increased interest rates now. If we proceed with this size capital program over the long-term plan will increase our interest from what is currently 9 million to around 46 million. I think that's way more than what our community can afford. And there were $150 million worth of lost opportunities for reductions that this council voted not to support. I went home and went through those items that Councillor Wood and myself had proposed or had intended to propose if we'd had the opportunity. So I don't ever want to hear that we have no option. There are options here that we have considered and the majority of us have declined.
So when we talk to our community about what that might cost them, I don't ever want to hear that it's out of our control, that we didn't have options. I'll leave it there.
Thank you, councillor. I think, as if there's no other comments, I'll just have a little final fling. Yes, there's 6.6% of interest and debt repayments. And I suppose people's affordability, yes, there is affordability issues, but it's in the eye of the beholder and what is acceptable. And we've just debated a whole lot of quite individual line items, which was valuable in the sense of hearing how valuable they are in the bigger makeup of our whole budget. So we've just got to be careful that, yes, we've got to trim, and we'll go through operational on Wednesday, and that will be another discussion as well. But we've got to be careful. We'll start chopping off fingers, arms, legs of the organisation, and we just won't be able to recover. So I do think there does need to be some acceptance that there has to be some level of service commitment. If we don't, what are we going to do? Put up the white flag. So I'm comfortable in the bigger scheme, and knowing what others are going through, we've done a very, very good job of managing to this stage anyway. So I'd like to think that you can support this. I know it's been difficult. I'm not going to say it's been easy. So I hope you can support this, at least get through to a draft stage anyway. So we'll vote, please. And that has passed 11 votes for and 3 against. Okay, all right. All right. We'll look to adjourn. Now we're going to push this out to Wednesday. So just so everybody knows. So this will be till 10 a.m. We'll adjourn till 10 a.m. Wednesday. So if I could put that up, and I'll look to move that. No, we don't have to. Okay. And we will reconvene the meeting on Wednesday at 10 a.m. in here. So our final, if I could just ask the Deputy Mayor to close us out. Thank you.
Tēnā koe, Mr Mayor, o tira tēnā koutou ngā kai kaunihira, to the councillors, ki ngā kai hāpai, to the officers, o tira ki ngā kai mā takitaki, and those who are watching as well and listening. Kua mutua mātou mahi, our work is finished. Mō tēnei wā, just for this moment. Manaaki tia mai mātou katoa, watch over all of us, o mātou whānau, our family, o mātou hoa, our friends and colleagues. Ai o ki te rangi, peace to the universe, peace to us. Kia ora tātou. Thank you.
Kia ora. Thank you, everybody. Well done.